Thursday, 10 October. Welcome to the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. I'm Mike Baker, your eyes and ears on the world stage. All right, let's get briefed. First up, we'll begin with Gaza, where frustrated Palestinians appear to be turning on Hamas's leadership, expressing anger at the group's management of the war. Hamas leadership, on the other hand, appears to be dismissive of the population's growing frustration. Then, an update on Hurricane Milton as the storm made landfall overnight along Florida's Gulf Coast. While the impact was destructive, no doubt, it does seem that the state may have avoided the predicted worst-case scenarios. But first, our afternoon spotlight. I want to begin with our coverage of the Israel-Hamas conflict, as reports emerge that Hamas may be losing the support of Palestinians in Gaza as frustrations mount over the group's handling of the war and the continued destruction and chaos inside Gaza. More than a year after Hamas launched the brutal 7 October attacks against Israel that started this conflict, much of the enclave lies in ruin, and the population is increasingly blaming Hamas for provoking Israel and inviting such large-scale destruction. That's according to an exclusive report from Reuters. Even a former Hamas official has joined the criticism, asking in a Facebook post whether the group, quote, studied and thought of the consequences before launching their attack. Now, one 52-year-old resident of Gaza told Reuters, quote, despite all the hardships, our life was going well. We had jobs, houses, and a city. Turning their ire towards Hamas leader and 7 October mastermind Yahya Sinwar, the resident asked, quote, what was he thinking? Didn't he expect that Israel would destroy Gaza? End quote. Now, Sinwar has been in hiding underground in the extensive Hamas tunnel networks below Gaza since the 7 October massacre, reportedly surrounding himself with Israeli hostages in an effort to save his own skin. Dozens of Gaza residents who spoke with Reuters said the anger began to intensify after Sinwar continually scuttled promising ceasefire negotiations over the spring and summer, leading to expanded operations by the Israeli military. Many are finally questioning whether Sinwar and the remaining Hamas leadership care about the damage wrought by their attack and the suffering that it has caused. To that point, as we've discussed previously, Sinwar has shown that he, well, frankly, has no regard for the plight and suffering of Palestinians. In messages to mediators back in June, Sinwar callously brushed off the deaths of Palestinians in Gaza as, quote, necessary sacrifices. But the evidence that Hamas's support has significantly eroded inside Gaza is not just anecdotal. A poll published in mid-September by the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research reveals that for the first time, the majority of Gazans now oppose Hamas's decision to launch these 7 October attacks. Roughly 57% said that it was a bad idea, while 39% still supported it, a significant drop from the last public polling in June. Furthermore, support among Gazans for Hamas to remain as the governing body for the enclave has sharply fallen to just 36%, and that's down from 46% in the June polling. The director of the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research told Reuters, quote, for the first time, we see more Gazans wanting the Palestinian Authority, not Hamas, to control Gaza after the war. This is probably the most decisive indicator, end quote. We should note, however, that Hamas still enjoys the support of Palestinians living in the West Bank, which has so far been spared the worst of the fighting. There, roughly 73% still support Hamas as a governing body for Gaza. While the poll shows some contradictory sentiments at work among the Palestinians, the population of Gaza is clearly losing their patience with the terrorist group's strategy. Coming up, an update on Hurricane Milton as the storm makes its way across central Florida. I'll be right back. Hey, Mike Baker here. You know, every day we hear about surveillance and how our right to privacy is being infringed upon. And it's true, right? You know what I'm talking about. It feels like we're living in a world where nothing is truly private anymore. And you know why? It's because nothing really is truly private anymore. I mean, most of us, for the sake of convenience, fair enough, right? We hand over our personal information without a second thought on a daily basis. I mean, we're signing up for services, you're shopping online, using social media, and I know you're out there using social media. Well, but this convenience, it comes at a cost. Now, it's time for us to take a stand and fight back for our right to privacy. One tool that's been essential for me in this fight is the all-in-one privacy app called MySudo. That's MySudo, MySudo. It's an app that lets you create multiple digital identities with separate phone numbers and emails so you can keep your personal information private. In this age of constant surveillance, having MySudo is crucial. Now, for my listeners, I've got a special deal. Go to mysudo.com/Mike Baker and use code, wait for it, Mike Baker. I bet you didn't see that coming, to get 30 days free on a Sudo Pro yearly subscription. Take back your privacy. Take it back with MySudo. Trust me, it's worth it. Welcome back to the Afternoon Bulletin. I want to provide an update on Hurricane Milton, which slammed into Florida's central west coast late Wednesday as a fierce Category 3 storm with winds of up to 120 miles per hour, shredding much in its path. The eye of the storm hit Siesta Key. It's a small barrier island south of Tampa, leaving millions under a flash flood emergency as it roared inland and then weakened to a Category 1 storm. This marks the first time in 100 years that a hurricane has passed within 50 miles of Tampa. While Siesta Key faced the brunt of the storm's eye, other regions along the coast, like Naples, suffered from record storm surges. The city saw its second highest storm surge on record, over 5 feet of water. Meanwhile, in St. Petersburg, torrential rains set new records, with a 1 in 1,000-year rainfall event bringing 18 inches of rain in a single day, nearly tripling the city's previous high from 2001. By Thursday morning, more than 3 million residents across central Florida were left without power due to the storm's impact. The winds, rain, and storm surge wreaked havoc on coastal cities, and residents who chose to ride out the storm described the noise as resembling a freight train. South Florida endured an onslaught of tornadoes, with 19 confirmed twisters flattening entire neighborhoods. The deadly outbreak claimed 4 lives, and the state is bracing for further casualty reports, according to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. It's important to note that despite predictions of a devastating 13-foot storm surge in Tampa, the city managed to avoid the worst-case scenario. Tampa Mayor Jane Castor stated, quote, "One of the blessings for us is that we did not see that predicted storm surge," end quote. Florida has opened 150 shelters, according to Governor DeSantis. President Biden declared a state of emergency, which allows federal resources to assist with the recovery. Airports across the state are also reeling from the storm's aftermath, with over 2,200 flights canceled. Major hubs in Orlando and Tampa and southwest Florida were hardest hit. On another note, Port Tampa Bay, a critical fuel hub, luckily saw minimal damage. It's expected that the economic toll of Hurricane Milton will be severe, with early estimates suggesting the storm could cause upwards of $100 billion in damages. This comes on the heels of Hurricane Helene, of course, which struck just 2 weeks earlier, leaving at least 230 dead across the South and causing some $47 billion in damages, further, of course, complicating Florida's recovery efforts. And that, my friends, is the PDB Afternoon Bulletin for Thursday, 10 October. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. It's a happy day when Carl the mailman drops off the overstuffed mailbags at the PDB World Headquarters, filled with your letters and your postcards and your emails and your faxes and your candygrams. Don't forget the candygrams. To listen to the show ad-free, become a premium member of the President's Daily Brief by visiting pdbpremium.com. And, of course, since it's Thursday, and I do believe it's Thursday, that means the PDB Command Center is busy producing a new episode of our extended weekend show, the PDB Situation Report. The new show airs every Friday evening at 10 p.m. on the First TV and on our YouTube channel. Check that out. It's at President's Daily Brief, and, of course, all podcast platforms that are worth their salt. This weekend's guests include retired General Ben Hodges, former commander of the U.S. Army in Europe, as well as retired Admiral Mike Studeman, former commander of the Office of Naval Intelligence. We'll be talking Iran, Russia, Ukraine, China, and all points in between. And as always, the Situation Report is chock full of news, excellent insight from our guests, and fun facts, and all without empty calories that would fill you up. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.